All right, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the board meeting for November 25th, 2025. I'd like to say good afternoon, fellow trustees, senior leadership team, our ATA president, and I believe our QP president sends regrets. And also, it's wonderful to have members of the public. Thank you for joining us today. I'd like to take a moment to share some information regarding public participation at the meetings, to follow up on a change to the question submission process. Previously, meetings were held electronically via Microsoft Teams, and the public were able to pose questions via the Google form directly to the board during the meeting itself. This comes from policy 14.5.2. Questions from the public now are taken 1 day in advance, policy 7.14.5. For those who attend board meetings in person, there is an opportunity to engage the board during section 12 of the agenda, the comment and question period. This is also outlined in policy 7. I will speak more to this once we get to that section of the agenda. So let us begin. We call the meeting to order at 1:01. And Trustee Gibbons, would you offer us the land acknowledgement, please?
Sturgeon Public Schools respectfully acknowledges that we teach, learn, and grow together on Treaty 6 territory and homeland of the Métis. We honor and respect the history, languages, ceremonies, and cultures of the First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people who have called this land home for countless generations. We recognize the Cree, Saulteaux, Blackfoot, Métis, Dene, Nakota Sioux, and Inuit for their care, love, and stewardship of this place. We are grateful for those who share their knowledge with us and help to foster a respectful relationship with all of our relatives on this land. We are committed to understanding the harms done in the name of education and continuing to learn to honor the true spirit of Treaty 6 as a promise of friendship, collaboration, and a peaceful alliance.
Thank you, Trustee Gibbons. We will now move to the next item, which is the approval of the agenda. We have the agenda as circulated. Is there someone who would like to make a motion to approve the agenda, please? Trustee Briggs?
Cindy Briggs, Ward 2. I move that we approve the agenda as presented.
Is anyone opposed? Thank you. The agenda is approved. We will do the approval of the minutes next. 4.1 is approval of the minutes of the organizational meeting of October 29th, 2025. Is there someone who would be willing to chant? Trustee Berkner.
Trustee Berkner, Ward 1. I move to approve the minutes of the organizational meeting of October 29th, 2025.
Thank you, Trustee Berkner. Is anyone opposed? The minutes are approved for October 29th. Thank you. Moving to 4.2, approval of the minutes of the regular board meeting of October 29th, 2025. Is there a trustee willing to make that motion? Trustee Reid?
Trustee Reid, Ward 6, I move to approve the minutes of the regular board meeting October 29th, 2025 as presented.
Thank you, Trustee Reid. Is anyone opposed? The minutes are approved. Moving to the next item is business arising from the minutes. We see nothing on the agenda there. Oh, sorry. The special board meeting, of course. We are going to take a back step. Could we have a motion to approve the minutes of the special board meeting of October 29th, 2025, please? Trustee Gibbons?
And Crystal Gibbons, Ward 7 trustee. I move to approve the minutes of the special board meeting on October 29th, 2025 as presented.
Thank you, Trustee Gibbons. They are approved. Number 5, business arising from the minutes. Okay. We will take another back step and we will just do all in favor. Seeing none opposed to the approval of the minutes of the special board meeting of October 29th. Could we have all in favor by a show of hands, please? Carried unanimously. All right, moving on to number 5, business arising from the minutes. Seeing nothing, we will move to the next item on the agenda. And we have a presentation here on the audited financial statements. Welcome. And can I turn this over to the Associate Superintendent to introduce and move us forward? Thank you.
Thank you, Board Chair Superintendent. Yes, just from MNP here, we have Benji Washer, who will just give a brief kind of presentation on our audited financial statements. So take it away, Benji.
Perfect. Well, thanks for having me here today. As mentioned, my name is Benji Wasser. I'm a partner at MNP based out of our Leduc office. And just so everybody's aware, we did go through a similar presentation with the audit committee last week in significant depth. There are lots of good questions, lots of discussion around the numbers and the audit and the findings. So today's presentation is a very simplified, summarized version of that. But by all means, if you've got any questions, don't hesitate to let me know. So with that, I will start with the audit of the financial statements itself. So I guess, I don't know if everybody can see it on screen or if there's just copies, but I'll just kind of go through and tell you what page I'm on. But I'll start with the audit report itself. And the main part of the audit report is essentially the opinion. So this is what you get when you have an external auditor. They come in to do a review, or sorry, I guess in this case, an audit of your financial statements, making sure the numbers are accurate. So in our audit report, the very first paragraph is our opinion, and it just states that we have audited the financial statements for August 31st, 2025, and there are no qualifications and no issues. So in a nutshell, it's the best audit opinion you can get. It's a clean audit report with no qualifications. So as a board, that's definitely what you want to see when you're getting an audit, is a clean audit opinion. Then to just briefly touch on the numbers, like I said, we did go through this in significant depth with the audit committee, but just some high points here. I'll go through two different statements. The first one is the statement of financial position. So this is the sort of the snapshot at your year end of August 31st in comparison to the prior year from a statement of financial position perspective. So you can see it's broken down into a few different categories. The first category at the top is your financial assets. So financial assets are essentially cash or things that will become cash. The biggest number here is obviously the cash and cash equivalents, which essentially is your amounts in your bank account. So you can see there's about 13.5 million in the bank, up from about 11.5 the year before. So about a $1.9 million increase in cash. The next item is accounts receivable. So accounts receivable is basically the amounts owed to the division at the end of the year from other groups. There's about 900,000 in accounts receivable, and that's up about 400 from the prior year, mainly to do with timing of Alberta Ed funding payments owed to the division. So that's why that's up a little bit. On the liability side, the first number that comes into play here is accounts payable and accruals. So that's essentially what is owed to others. So suppliers, vendors, contractors, things like that. You can see it has gone up about 350,000 to just over $3 million. Main reason for this is timing of payments. So you've got the timing of your trade APs. So when are you paying the suppliers? Also the payroll accruals change from year to year, the timing of when you're making the last payments to your staff. And then unearned revenue is also included in there. So that's changed a little bit as well. But overall, about $350,000 more in accounts payable. Unspent deferred contributions is the next line. That's sitting at 3.9 million. And this represents your carryover funds. So the funding that you've received that have specific stipulations on them, that money just hasn't yet been spent. So it gets carried over into the next fiscal year. That's sitting, like I said, at about 3.9 million compared to 2.6 the year before. So about a $1.3 million increase. The biggest single item included in there for the increase is collegiate funding. So some new funding that came in that just hadn't been spent by the end of the year. So will be spent in fiscal 26. Next item here that I wanted to touch on was asset retirement obligations. So that's another big item, $8.7 million, up about $160,000 from the prior year. And that's just typically due to inflation. So what it's going to cost you to clean up mainly asbestos in school divisions in the schools at some future date. As the years go by, that it becomes a little more and more expensive. So that's what the inflation change is there. That's what that's representing. Then we get to the bottom section here, the non-financial assets. So non-financial assets, the biggest number here is your tangible capital assets. That's mainly your schools, right? You've got schools, vehicles, buses, equipment, things like that. You can see that's gone down from 95 million all the way down to just under 92 million, which is a decrease of about $3.2 million. There were some additions in the year. There was some CMR building improvements, about $1.4 million, and then a few vehicles that were purchased in the year as well that make up about $250,000 of additions. Then that's all offset by $4.9 million in amortization, which is just the annual depreciation of your assets. Next item I wanted to touch on is kind of at the bottom there, spent deferred capital contributions. That went from 80 million down to 77 million, a decrease of about $2.7 million. And that's just in line with your asset additions. So as you can see, the tangible capital assets was down roughly 3 million, and the spent deferred capital is also down roughly 3 million. So those will be in line because they're very much linked together. Every time you get a supported asset, you have a spent deferred capital item that offsets it, and it just gets depreciated into income over the life of the asset. So that makes sense that it's in line there. So overall accumulated surplus is about $13.5 million. So that's the first page, statement of financial position. The next page is your statement of operations. So this is a little bit different. This shows your revenues and expenses in the year. The one other difference to note here is that you do have the budget column. So that's the spring budget for the school division. And in most cases here, if you kind of just do a high level overview, the numbers are actually fairly close to budget, which is great. That's kind of what the goal is. You set a budget and you try to stick close to it. But I'll just go through some of the ones that do have some differences here. The Government of Alberta funding, 73.7 million of actual revenue brought in compared to 73.9 million budgeted for. So about 200,000 sort of less funding came in from the province than was initially anticipated. One of the bigger changes here is the federal government funding. You can see there was about 2.1 million budgeted for, but only about 1.7 million came in. That $400,000 difference is mainly made up of Jordan's Principle. And you'll see that with across pretty much all the school divisions. There was some confusion at the federal level. Maybe not confusion is the right word, but there was some unknown about the Jordan's Principle program itself and the timing of when you knew you were going to get it versus when the program was canceled. So that's one of the reasons there's a difference there. The other ones are all pretty close. So fees, sales, investments, and donations are all pretty much in line with the budget. The other one that does jump out, though, is other revenue. So other revenue, you received about 840,000 in the year, but only had budgeted for about 190. The biggest ticket item in there was some a recovery from some illegal action that happened in the year. So it wasn't really anticipated or didn't know the amount. So that was a bit of an increase on the other type revenue. But then when you look at total revenue in general, all funding put together, 79.6 million was the actuals and 79.5 was the budget. So that's pretty much bang on. It's within $150,000 on the revenue side, which is pretty much as close as you can get on a budget this size, which is good. On the expense side of things,
Benji, can I just jump in for a second? Sorry. I just want to clarify that the federal funding government reduction there in the amount is actually just from the job action. Just because we had that job action and we had EAs hired, we didn't spend those dollars and we have to give that money back to Jordan's principal.
Perfect. And actually the job action that you're talking about is one of the bigger ticket items that I was going to mention on the expense side as well. So down in the expenses, you can see that the 3.3 million was the actual spend for ECS instruction and was under budget of the 3.7 million. And as mentioned, a good chunk of that or some of that is related to the teacher action or the QP action that happened in the year. So there was less expenses that had to happen compared to what you would have anticipated initially. Similarly with the grade 1 to 12, you can see that's under budget as well. There was 56.6 million actuals compared to 57.4. So about a $750,000 less in expenses around the other instruction category, which is this normal school, grade 1 to 12. Operations and maintenance, so your O&M costs was pretty close to budget, only within about 200,000. Similarly, transportation within about 100,000, and then system admin and external are smaller, but again, really close to the budgets. So really the only difference in expenses when compared to your spring budget was those instructional costs, which are mainly obviously salaries. That's the biggest cost in any school division. So you can see you budgeted 80.7 million, and there was about 79.4 million in total actual expenses, which is a difference of about 1.3 million less than anticipated initially. So now then when you take the total revenues of 79.6 minus your total expenses of 79.4, you get to that annual operating surplus, which is $274,000 surplus. So surplus basically means more revenue brought in than was spent. So in this case, you can see 270,000 was your overall surplus in the year. And you had budgeted for about a $1.2 million deficit. That was to use up some reserves and things like that initially was the plan, but more funding, I guess the funding was the same, but you did have that QP action, which did reduce expenses. So you didn't have to spend as much as anticipated, which meant you didn't have to use as many of your reserves. So overall, it's pretty darn close to break even on a budget year size at that 274,000 of surplus. So that was sort of the two main pages of the financials at a high level. Like I said, we did go through in significant detail at the audit committee level, but if anybody has any further questions.
Are there any questions? Seeing none, I would like to thank you, Benji, for your presentation and look forward to healthy discussion around those numbers. Thank you.
Perfect.
All right, moving to the next item would be 6.2, and we have our ATA representative here, so welcome.
I guess just before you go to the next one, is that it for me then? I don't think I'm on the agenda any further, so I can probably jump off the call at this point.
Benji, do you mind just staying to the approval, which is just a few more items down?
Sure. Yep, I can do that.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Trustees, members of senior administration, and those in attendance, online and in person. My name is David McIntyre, the ATA local president, and I just want to thank you for having me here. I did want to express congratulations to our new and returning trustees. I know I'm looking forward to working with you all. So yeah, happy to be here. On behalf of teachers of Sturgeon Public Schools, I want to begin by expressing sincere gratitude towards the division's continued support and collaboration during what has been a very challenging time. Your commitment to communicating promptly with our local and as new legislation has been unfolded has been deeply appreciated. We acknowledge that maintaining full transparency isn't always possible, but we did want to recognize and value the efforts that have been made to keep communication open, professional, and supportive. That sense of partnership, even amidst uncertainty, has meant a great deal to our teachers. The choices made, for example, to keep staff technology and key access active so that teachers had one less thing to worry about when coming back, to maintaining the existing division calendar providing some stability after a time of disruption, and to offer a pay advance to ease the financial burden teachers had just undertaken. All of those decisions helped during a very difficult period. Those gestures showed respect and trust, and they did not go unnoticed. I do think it's important to remember that teachers' actions were never directed towards the division. The strike reflected broader systemic issues at the provincial level. Teachers put everything on the line to try and make things better in education for the long term. When they were told they could only bargain on wages and not meaningfully address classroom sizes and complexity, they told the government no, because this strike at its core was always about the students. Coming back has not been easy. Many teachers are still carrying the emotional weight of how things ended, along with the fatigue that comes from an intense period of uncertainty. Our teachers now have fewer rights than when they began the strike, and have had the same agreement, one that was rejected for failing to meaningfully address the realities of today's classroom, legislatively imposed upon them. Yet, in typical fashion, they have returned with compassion, focus, and commitment, showing up for their students and working to rebuild routine, connection, and joy. Their professionalism and care has been unwavering. Unfortunately, it has not gotten easier. Teachers are feeling the additional weight of most recent legislative changes, particularly the multiple bills passed under the notwithstanding clause. Beyond their professional implications, these laws have a real human impact, affecting vulnerable groups in our schools, and leaving some teachers uncertain about how to continue being a safe and supportive presence for all students. The social and emotional ripple effects of these measures are being felt in classrooms every single day. Teachers are doing their best, but this adds another layer to an already complex and demanding work. When we get into the complexity in classroom surveys and committee, our teachers are hoping that it is a genuine attempt at getting help that is desperately needed, but with good reason are not optimistic. Continued empathy, communication, and collaboration from the division will be essential as we face these challenges together. Thank you again for your partnership and for your ongoing commitment to supporting teachers, not only as professionals, but as people. Thank you.
Thank you for your very passionate presentation. Appreciate it. Thank you. And seeing that our QP representative has sent regrets, we will move on. And Benji, this is when you will step back into the picture, if that's okay. We are looking at action item 7.1, and there is a request for reserve transfer approval. Would you like to speak to that? Yes.
Thank you, Superintendent and Board Chair. So I'll just give kind of a high level, but obviously our reserve transfer is the last step in our audited financial statements, just to set the division up for future planning and sustainability. The recommendation of the transfer reflects an increase of operating reserves of roughly $250,000 and a net increase to capital reserves of $650,000. The division's accumulated surplus from operations is $4.2 million, which is within provincial reserve limits. These allocations support the division's ability to meet future operational and capital commitments and ensure compliance with provincial monitoring. Just to highlight, the total accumulated surplus less school generated funds is $3.4 million, and the division is required to maintain their reserves between 1% and 6%, which is $800,000 to $4.8 million. So currently as is, that puts us around the middle, a little bit higher, but in a good position. In the tables attached, I would probably just like to highlight a few things. This transfer reflects on our operating reserves the job action and set some funds aside that we saw from the savings of the job actions to help pay for that settlement in future years. I just want to highlight this because it's an advocacy piece that that settlement was unfunded, and we will have to find internally how we're going to cover that. As of right now, we've set some reserves aside, but it is a topic of conversation. In terms of our operating reserves, the transfers presented today prioritize our future capital needs as well as asset replacement so that we ensure we're replacing our division capital assets as needed. And I'll open it to any questions.
Trustee Bucca.
Thank you, Chair. Stacey Buga, Ward 5. Just to clarify, I guess sometimes these numbers can be a bit confusing and overwhelming. When it comes to the settlement costs estimated and budget support, we're anticipating that there will be no future support from the government to back up what has been agreed to? And is there potential for, like that brings us to 2028, seeing that this is an unfunded settlement with potential of the contract will be up again in 2028, for more to add on to that, we're looking into million, like that. This shows what, an 800,000 ish right now. Are we anticipating, or is this where trustees across the province need to really be pushing so that this doesn't continue to pile up? Or what is, how do we best support this going forward? I know we can't see the future, but perhaps some insight.
Go ahead.
Okay, Sean, I'm forgetting to say my name, Sean Nicholson, Associate Superintendent of Corporate Services. So I'm going to get in that habit. Thank you, Board Chair and Superintendent. So yeah, a big advocacy piece is, although historically the the uncertificated settlements have not been supported by the government. Has historically been the case. And as of right now will continue to be the case. So yes, that settlement over the many years was in excess of $2 million, and it was unfunded. So we will have to figure out how to support that. It is a very difficult piece because, as many of you know, currently a lot of our negotiations are pretty much governed by the government, and yet the funding is not following suit, which provides complexities and is, I think, a huge advocacy piece for the new board.
Thank you. Trustee O'Shea?
Trustee O'Shea, Ward 4. So Associate Superintendent Nicholson, the ATA settlement is completely funded. Is that correct?
Yeah, so we have been told that it will be funded. Exactly how they're going to calculate that, I am not sure. It has been reiterated. I've heard, not directly from the roundabout, that there may be winners or losers on that. So how that's going to look, I'm not sure, but it is supposed to be a funded settlement.
Do you have an anticipated date for when we get clarification on that?
Thank you, Trustee. Nope, we do not have kind of a lot of timelines from the government. We're sitting and waiting. I think similar to our ATM members, we're all sitting and waiting to get direction on various things. I do believe that they are probably waiting for audited financial statements to use those numbers to potentially make some decisions. That would only be speculation.
Thank you. Any further questions? All right. Before we look for a motion, can we just confirm the actual amount of the transfer? I'm seeing a motion that the trustees approve transfer of operating and capital reserves. Could you just confirm the total amount, please?
Yep. So the motion is to approve the operating capital transfers as outlined as the two tables. As approximately $256,000 to operations and $656,000 to capital.
Okay, so for a sum total of?
Sorry, did you want me to?
Yes, please.
A subtotal of roughly $900,000.
Thank you. All right, is there a trustee who would be willing to bring that motion forward for us, please? Trustee Buga?
I move that the Board of Trustees approve the transfer of operating and capital reserves for the year ending August 31st, 2025, as outlined on Table 1, operating reserves balance as August 31st, 2025, and Table 2, Capital Reserves Balance, August 31st, 2025, as presented here today.
All right, are we ready to call the question? Is anyone opposed? All in favor? Carried unanimously. Moving to the next item, the 24-25 audited financial statements. Would you like to speak to this, Associate Superintendent?
Associate Superintendent Sean Nicholson. Thank you, Superintendent Board Chair. This is just in follow-up to Benji's presentation there. These statements are prepared annually to meet our responsibility under the Education Act and to demonstrate transparency and accountability to our communities. The Education Act requires school boards to prepare their annual financial statements and to have them audited by an external auditor. As Benji mentioned, the audit committee met on November 18th to review these statements and had a thorough discussion. MNP completed the audit in accordance with Canadian public sector accounting standards and provincial reporting guidelines. The auditor issued an unqualified audit opinion, meaning the statements are presented fairly in all material respects. Benji mentioned most of the highlights, but I kind of do want to just quickly touch on these statements do highlight kind of the financial progress of the division and just particularly the shift from 24-25 and the expense change, the financial difficulties we're faced with, just as we were drawing on reserves in our past to support a lot of the expenses we had. And just that piece, I do believe this budget also reflects through its reserves a multi-year plan to commitment and financial stability. So it would be obviously my recommendation that we move forward with this. And in summation, I want to say thank everybody who worked through this process. Our Director of Finance here, who came in September and supported through this whole process, as well as the finance team. They all have a strong commitment to Sturgeon and wanting to do a good job for our division and follow good practice. And they're all hugely in support of getting this completed. So I want to thank everyone, as well as our auditors and the audit committee as well too, for the questions and working through that. I'll leave it open to any questions if there are.
Are there any questions coming forward? Trustee O'Shea.
I would just like to thank Associate first of all, it's Trustee O'Shea from Ward 4. I'd like to thank Mr. Nicholson and his staff. When we were in our audit committee meeting, Myers, Norris, and Penny certainly made reference a number of times to the professionalism and easy way in which they worked with your department. And they commented a couple of times on how that made the audit go smoothly, and their work with us was appreciated. And we appreciate when our employees go out and show that face to the public and to public that they're working with. It strengthens our division. So thank you very much for that to your people.
Thank you for the comment. Any other comments or questions? Okay, moving forward towards the vote. Is there a trustee who would be willing to bring forward the motion to approve the audited financial statements for the year ending August 31st, 2025? Trustee O'Shea.
Trustee O'Shea, Ward 4, recommend that the Board of Trustees approve the audited financial statements for the year ended August 31st, 2025, as presented at this meeting today, November 25th, 2025, public board meeting.
Thank you, Trustee O'Shea. If there are no questions, we will move forward to the vote. All in favor? Unanimous.
Board Chair. Before we move on, I would just like to go back to the ATA report and have a couple of comments for our ATA representative. Thank
Yes,
you.
of course.
Trustee O'Shea, Ward 4. On to Mr. McIntyre. I just wanted to say that I think most of us as trustees, about 6 days after you were legislated back to work, attended Remembrance Day ceremonies in our respective schools. And were once again reminded of the dedication of our staff, because they put on wonderful ceremonies in a very short period of time. Not only did they do that under some very trying conditions, they picked up sports where they left off. We see them now organizing winter carnival or winter concerts, their clothing drives and happening, and they've brought their passion back with them. And we are very thankful that they are taking care of our students the same way in which they did prior to the job action. So if you could take that back to the membership, I would be very pleased. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will move on to, Trustee Buga, a comment?
Thanks, Board Chair. Yeah, I was going to comment at the ATA report part 2, so I'm going to just put it in here. Just appreciation to our local rep for attending our board meetings and sharing what's happening from all perspectives so that we can have a better understanding as trustees. So appreciation.
Thank you. We are going to thank Benji and let him know that, you know what, we do much appreciate you being with us here today. And if you have other things that you need to get on with, feel free to excuse yourself. You're welcome to stay and watch, but you know what? If you have other things, we certainly do show appreciation. Thank you, Benji.
Perfect. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Okay, moving on to the next item, which is 7.3, dealing with the public consultation on Legal Public Schools for 2026 and 2027, which is a planning. Superintendent?
Thank you, Board Chair, Superintendent Warren. And so there is a recommended motion here for the board. So just an executive summary. That the board is asked to consider initiating the preliminary steps outlined in Section 62 of the Education Act and Board Policy 15 to assess the long-term viability of Legal Public School. The proposed motion does not initiate a school closure. Rather, it authorizes community consultation and the preparation of a comprehensive report analyzing educational, financial, enrollment, transportation, and capital implications. The information that will be gathered would support the board in determining whether formal closure consideration is warranted as part of the 26-27 planning process.
Thank you, Superintendent. Are there any questions or comments? Trustee Buga.
Thank you, Chair. Trustee Buga, Ward 5. Just curious, is this the space to ask questions about enrollment numbers and what kind of patterns we're seeing, or are we strictly speaking to the motion to begin those conversations? Thank you.
Superintendent, would you take that?
Yes, thank you. Great question. Thank you, Trustee Buga. That is to initiate the process that the board is asking for the information to be brought forward so the board can make a decision. So no specifics are given at this time. This is just that you are directing me as superintendent to bring back that information for the board so that you can do your role in governance to make that decision if so needed.
So information coming forward. Trustee O'Shea and then Trustee Briggs.
So we know that there's a community consultation piece, and I'm just wondering around timing of things. I'm anticipating that the board would see the report and information before we went out to the public for consultation, and that perhaps that report would also be part of our public consultation. Is that correct?
Superintendent.
Thank you, Superintendent Warren. Thank you, Trustee O'Shea. Great question. Yes. And so all of this is to start the process. And so the next piece will be bring that back to the board, looking at the public consultation, following policy to ensure that we are engaging with the public and the process moving forward.
Thank you, Superintendent, for clarifying that would happen before. Appreciate that. Trustee Briggs.
Trustee Briggs, Ward 2. I think this is a great time to talk about advocacy on what it looks like at the town of Legal. They have a Francophone school, a Catholic school, and a public school. And these are all publicly funded schools. So I think this is our time to talk to our MLAs and advocate for a shared space of funds to be benefiting the community of Legal.
Thank you. Any other comments, questions coming forward? If not, could we move forward to motion? Is there a trustee that would be willing to bring forth the motion to begin public consultation on Legal Public School? Trustee Bucca?
Thank you, Chair. Trustee Bucca, Ward 5. I move that the Board of Trustees of the Sturgeon Public School Division, pursuant to Section 62 of the Education Act and in accordance with Board Policy 15, direct the superintendent to start the process to consult the community about the long-term viability of Legal Public School as part of the 26-27 budget planning process. As per Policy 15, the Board directs the superintendent specifically to select a date for a public meeting that the chair and no fewer than 3 trustees attend, prepare a notification to the parents and guardians, and bring forward a report to inform the board decisions.
Thank you, Trustee Bucca. Any clarification required before we move forward with the vote? All right. Any objections? All in favor? Moving forward to item 8 on our agenda would be the administrative reports. So 8.1, Morinville Public Replacement School Community Information Night. Superintendent, would you like to speak to that evening last night? Thank you so much.
Thank you, Board Chair. And so last evening, Sturgeon Public Schools, we did host a community information night to share the design updates and gather feedback on the Morinville Public School Replacement Project. This session informed our stakeholders about the key features and timelines, while also reinforcing our commitment to transparent engagement. And so the survey is open. Again, additional messaging went out to families. We had trustees in attendance. Thank you. It was wonderful to have you at the tables. This is new, the new capital planning process. It's now been named to the Schools Now initiative. It is a new process for capital projects, and it is new to all school divisions. So we are learning this as we go through. I encourage the public, please look through the presentation. It even has the draft sketchings for the external. This is just design. This is more of the physical footprint. So this is just step 1. So programming, all the other stuff will come later. But it was last night. And again, that survey is open. So we really encourage people, it's very quick, to please go on the website and put any other additional feedback that they would like before we have to have it submitted to Alberta Infrastructure and ACI. Unless, would you like to say anything further about it? Unless there's other trustees who are in attendance who would like to speak to it.
Would anyone care to speak to that item?
Trustee Bucca, Ward 5. Surprise, I will speak all the time if you let me. I'm really excited about this. I think the engagement went really well. And I appreciated having so many Sturgeon employees as well as representatives from the school there to hear what those pinch points are going to be. And really, I think the public saw that everyone is already aware of the pinch points that there's going to be, that sometimes growth doesn't happen without a bit of blood, sweat, and tears going into it. I think this is a really good, we're seeing, it feels like a rushed timeline when we're saying we need to report back to the government on this stage within a week or two, early December here. And I think that's important for us as trustees to bring back to, while we appreciate this accelerator program and the announcements of so many schools, and it's all very exciting at the surface level, but how are our communities feeling? And I feel that they feel rushed and they're not quite prepared to give good feedback yet. We don't have a choice right now, but we do have a voice at that, Alberta infrastructure table and Alberta education. So just some takeaways that I think we all feel the same, that this process is really exciting to get new schools going, but maybe it needs to be tempered with a little bit of a reality check for some of those who are creating these systems. But thank you. I really enjoyed the night. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you for your comment. And yes, thank you to all of the staff who were available there to be a part of the conversation. I know that the people who sat at my table were very impressed with the level of engagement and conversation with everyone there.
Trustee Reed, Ward 6. just wanted to thank the staff because last night was a really well-rounded night. I thought, placing the trustees and having members of the school board at different tables was very unique. It gave us all the chance to hear the feedback and have those conversations, and having the little crayons or whatever to write onto the table was neat, and getting out and walking around and seeing the ideas. I do, however, think it's very important that we use this time. This model doesn't work. Being rushed in 3 months to come up with a plan to build a new school that's in our community for 50, 60 years seems rushed to me. So I think we're doing a good job in the time restraints that we have, but I think we also need to use this time to reach out to our MLAs and really voice our concerns about that. I mean, this is something that I really feel is being pushed down our throats in certain ways, and we're forced to do the best we can with it. I don't know if I'm totally okay with that. So, but not to highlight that point, I want to highlight the point that it was a great evening. Lots of engagement, lots of great questions, and it struck. I had two different diversities at my table. I had a family with grade 2 and 3 kids in there, and I had 2 older gentlemen that worked at the cemetery that went to the school that had history. And that was a really unique conversation. And that's important to have both ends of the spectrum there. And I think we should really try to, as we move forward, there's going to be a few more of these. We really need to try to engage the whole community and not just the community that's going to that school.
Thank you, Trustee Reed. And I would echo the same, that, we're not going to throw caution to the wind, but there have been some new schools in the area, and there's lots of feedback that has come once the children and staff are in there, things that work and things that don't work. Let's not be afraid to look back and say, okay, here's our chance to say, what, let's see if we can advocate for something a little bit different or better. Thank you. Ready to move on to the next item would be 8.2 Sturgeon Public Schools scholarships for 2024-2025. Superintendent will speak to this, but I will say that I had the opportunity to go out and watch the award ceremony at Redwater, and it was amazing. They did a wonderful job, and despite the weather getting there, it was an excellent evening, and it was so nice to see the students celebrated. Superintendent Warren.
Thank you, Board Chair. Shauna Warren, Superintendent. So this is information that comes to the board this time each year, because this is outlined in your policy 22. And so I'm going to turn it over to the Deputy Superintendent to speak about our scholarships.
Thank you, Superintendent and Chair. John Conrad, Deputy Superintendent. This is a great report we get to bring to yourselves each year for information for the way the board has chosen to support and encourage continued academic growth and continued future success of the students here in Sturgeon. This highlights the division-wide scholarships that we have. In the information memo, you should see 4 of them. The largest is the academic scholarship. That's the $1,000 for a young person who has achieved a high level of academic success and has enrolled in a next step institution. When they provide that, we are happy to celebrate them at the award ceremonies that the chair mentioned, but also with a monetary award. There's also the bursary, which recognizes a few students, one in each of our major high schools, that has also achieved success, not at the level of the top academic, but has clearly put in a lot of work to get where they are, and that's the bursary. The Frank Robinson does have an academic component, but goes deeper into citizenship or into impact on the school. A young person that has clearly made that place a good place to be for everyone that comes there each day. And that's the addition there. The smaller one is a technical scholarship. It's provided for by our partnership that we have an agreement with for our copiers, but they in turn now recognize it's smaller, but for young people that are going on in some type of technological field. I remind the board that these are not the only scholarships that happen within Sturgeon. There's actually quite a few local or school-specific scholarships that go deeper into depth into all other dimensions of student life and success. But these are the ones that are done by the board through your policy. And the number this year, I will say, is a bit less than last year, but I'm encouraged that young people are still achieving well and already enrolled. Like, you have to be confirmed and enrolled in the next step. Prepared to take any questions you may have.
Any questions or comments? Trustee Buga.
Surprise, Stacey Vigo, Ward 5. I think, bring this forward every year when we see this and question, as you had mentioned, where this is actually a decline in the number. When you see the kids receiving the Rutherford Scholarship, which essentially is the same criteria, I believe, as the Sturgeon Public Schools Scholarship, except for the application process. I question how do we reach our kids to let them know to apply for these? I know that we have a fairly significant budget line holding on to money for these scholarships for kids. And when there could be, 40 of them applying, and we're seeing 13 or none at Redwater there, or the learning centers, I'm just wondering if there's another way to make sure that our kids are hearing it. And I know that there is opportunity, but obviously high school kids learn and listen a little bit differently, and maybe we're missing the mark a little bit to offer this opportunity to make sure that as many kids as possible get these opportunities. So just a comment.
All right, thank you. Moving forward, yes, Trustee Briggs.
Trustee Briggs, Ward 2. I love hearing about this, and I love going to the awards. Is there any way we can highlight the amount of awards? I know this is linked to our policy. There was $279,000 worth of awards given out at Sturgeon Composite, and I don't think people are fully aware of how many awards are out there, as to speak to Trustee Buga. And I really think we have to shout what wonderful things that our high schools do. 279,000. That made such a difference in so many students' lives moving forward. So I would really like to highlight that somehow in our board.
Thank you so much. I'm assuming that went into communications report, which is coming up next.
Thank you. I too was at the Sturgeon Comp Awards, and I am sure this is already a practice that is in place, but I would like to make sure that our two high school principals thank the sponsors of those individual awards. I think sometimes we begin to take those for granted, and our community partners are so important. And obviously, as Trustee Briggs has said, that's an incredible amount of money that they're dumping into our schools. And I think we always want to make sure that we're recognizing that and following that up with a formal letter of thanks each year at this time for their continued support. Thank you.
Thank you so much. All right, if we are ready to move on to the next item on the agenda, we are looking at the communications report for October and November 2025. Superintendent Warren.
Thank you, Chair. I will turn this over to the Associate Superintendent of HR.
Associate Superintendent of HR, Lisa Lacroix. Provided as information is the November communications report, showcasing the work that has been done by the communication team, who continue to positively promote the division. They boosted the community engagement through activities such as the Morinville Public School Rebuild campaign, which reached over 14,000 views in 5 days. The link to the video is there if you'd like to view the fun video that they created. In addition, key division initiatives and transparency were strongly supported with updated trustee profiles, the launch of preparations for the Aviation Pathway Program, and consistent storytelling across all social media and the Sturgeon Public Scoop. These activities continue to build connection with our family, staff, and community partners.
Thank you. Are there any questions or comments regarding communications report? Thank you. Moving forward, could we have Superintendent provide your report for us? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Shauna Warren, Superintendent. Again, This report is provided for the board, and moving forward as a new board, the board will have to decide, does this bring value to the board? As superintendents across the province, we are mandated to meet the superintendent leadership quality standard. And so there are reports on just some of the activities that are done here. I'll just remind that I am committed as superintendent. It is my job to keep the board informed of information and regarding progress in your approved outcomes, your measures and strategies that are articulated in the education plan. And then our priority, of course, of student achievement and looking into our key insights that come out of the AERR and how we are addressing that. So that is my role, and also to bring the board the information needed to support you in your governance role. So this is an outline of just some of the things over the last month, just related to the SLQS. And it's just a high level of some of the things that have happened and just sharing his information. If there's any questions?
Thank you, Superintendent. Are there any questions or comments on the report? Thank you. All right. Next, we have reports from trustees and from standing committees. A little bit of a change here for us this year. We are looking at, I will provide you with the chair's report. It is available in the package. And I will just do a few highlights, and then I will invite fellow trustees to either speak to their report, or if they wish to go through a written format, it's totally up to them. So I really very much would like to highlight the excellent governance leadership session we had, which was our board orientation. We had 2 days with Dr. Jordan Tinney, and it was an amazing opportunity for the staff to join the new trustees and for the new trustees to come together and formulate as a team. And I have to thank the presenter and just the organization of that for us. It was excellent. There are many takeaways, and I appreciated also getting his slides that we can look at throughout the year. We of course had the swearing in ceremony, the organizational meeting, and the public board meeting, which was all very much a new highlight for many of us, but again, very rewarding time. There have been award ceremonies and lots of work with the Alberta School Boards Association and also with the Public School Boards Association, our partners in advocating for public education. Some very interesting connections in terms of where we can connect up and meet with other people, looking at ways to move things forward. I did enjoy the viewing of the Backpack Full of Cash movie, which was an interesting story. It seems like very much a parallel of what we are going through in Alberta with the private funding, public funding debate. So just gave us some insights and cautions, I guess, of where we should not go. And we did the audit committee meeting and enjoyed a very nice board chair orientation session with a former superintendent from Grand Prairie. So it was very good, and enjoying the time with what we're doing. It is keeping me busy. All right, we'll pass it along and we can just go through. May we start with Trustee Berkner and just go around the table. You can speak to your report, or you can whatever makes you happy.
Trustee Berkner, Ward 1. Other than what Trustee Brochu has mentioned, I also have been to Redwater School and Ochre Park School a total of 3 times so far. So just in parent council meetings, and also with the awards, and also just to go and say hi. And I brought donuts and coffee to both schools there at the beginning. So thank you.
Trustee Reid.
Trustee Reid, Ward 6. Yeah, I've really enjoyed the time at the beginning to get into the schools. I've been down to Guthrie parent council meeting, as well as the Mayo School parent council meeting, and met some of the staff, met some of the families, and it's great to see that things have gotten back. They're all struggling to get back to a normal and doing a good job. I did too watch the backpack movie viewing, and I found that very, very interesting. The other thing I've done, I mean, I was at the ceremony at Nemeo School's Remembrance Day, and they did a fabulous job. I mean, to put that together, and the kids were so quiet. I was very amazed at the structure in the gym. A lot of community members were there. I was surprised to see that many there. And so it was a nice day. Got to see some new faces and some old faces. And then it was nice to be at the conference last week at the PSBA and really get to spend a few days learning and talking to other trustees around the province and getting a different perspective. And that's pretty much a wrap up for me.
Thank you, Trustee Reed. Trustee Gibbons.
Crystal Gibbons, Ward 7 trustee. Yeah, I guess we've kind of been hand in hand with all these together here for the last little bit. So without repeating ourselves, I too have done the majority of everybody else. I have as well introduced myself to Gibbons and Lanning Trail School and brought them some coffee and donuts and had a tour of those two schools and some nice conversations. So that was good. I'm going off of the October one here, I think, but we're kind of touching in November. Is that what we're doing? Yeah, ish. Ish. So, okay. Yeah, I just enjoyed that Backpack Full of Cash. Was an interesting movie for sure. That was a good thing to see. Enjoyed both of the ASBA and the Public School Board Association of Alberta as well. So that's about what I have for now without going.
Thank you. We've been traveling as a herd lately, so it's a little bit that way. Trustee O'Shea.
Certainly. At Sturgeon Heights School, they're obviously excited to be back. They're involved in a fundraiser, and they've got a number of charity drives happening for the Christmas season. In addition, they've got 2 Christmas concert events coming up, a K to 4 and a 5 to 6, 3 to 6. Can't quite remember. They also have a tradition of hosting a school-wide Christmas dinner in December. So looking forward to those 3 events coming up, especially the dinner. Sturgeon Comp, I was there last night. Mr. Cripps, the principal, shared with school council the plans moving forward with their students now that diploma exams have been canceled. They're going to flesh out all of those details on the next PD day, which is it December 1st or December 3rd, one of the days coming up. So he just gave them a little bit of an idea of what was going to happen without the diploma exams having been written. And for all trustees, their winter concert is on December 11th. There will be an invitation forthcoming to, according to protocols, but it is December 11th at the Arden Theatre in St. Albert. And Darwin assured me that there would be more details coming that would be shared with the board.
Thank you, Trustee O'Shea. Trustee Bucca.
Thank you, Chair. Trustee Vigo, Ward 5. Yeah, very busy month rolling into this. I wanted to call out, I attended the Morinville Military Living Library prior to Remembrance Day. This is an event that they've held for a few years now that I attend as trustee on behalf of Sturgeon, but it's a lot of times our kids are there as well. And so I see our classes moving through very respectfully. So the Living Library, they bring in military members and speakers from, there's probably 15 at least, different speakers. So you get to hear their stories, you get to understand what the military looks like in Canada. And it's just a fantastic event. If anybody gets a chance to go, it's usually held sometime during the week prior to Remembrance Day, and they usually have it open during the day for mainly for schools to come through, and then in the evening for the public to come through. And it's really a great event, and it's really amazing to see our students engaging in such a fulsome way and understanding what Remembrance Day means, not just the ceremony sitting in the gym. So thank you.
Thank you, Trustee Bucca. Trustee Briggs, last but not least.
Trustee Briggs, Ward 2. It's always hard to be the last one in the pack. I'm going to echo what everyone else said, but I'm going to give a few highlights. Thank you to the amazing staff of Sturgeon Public Schools that pulled together beautiful Remembrance Day ceremonies in a short amount of time. They're very meaningful and impactful, so thank you very much. It was really nice to see all the community members and new dignitaries attending Sturgeon Composite High School Awards. What a celebration of $279,000 worth of scholarships. I can't say enough about it. And there will be an invitation coming from the Lillian Schick Parent Association for lunch, a Christmas lunch that they pull together every year. So make sure your calendar's open. Good food, great conversation. They're a small and mighty group, but proud to have them in our community.
Thank you so much. Well, that wraps up our trustee reports. And we shall move on to the committees and task force. So we'll start with 10.1. Trustee Gibbons and I attended the Alberta School Boards Association Zone 2-3 meeting. And it's just about time for us to go again. It was very interesting, a place to network. We met lots of other new trustees and seasoned trustees and found that there was a wealth of information for us once a month. So if we have questions that we want to bring forward, there's people for us. Would you like to add anything to that, Trustee Gibbons? Okay, thank you. Again, we had lovely weather going there, didn't we? The next one, 10.2, would be the Public School Boards Association of Alberta representative, which would be Trustee Briggs and the alternate Trustee Reid.
Trustee Briggs, Ward 2. Trustee Reid, if I forget anything, please feel free to join. Public School Board Association was held on November 19th, the Lois Hole dinner. The guest speaker was Annette Timby. She has a PhD and she's also the president of MacEwan University. On November 20th, we had professional development. Tom Thompson, he was recognized as one of Canada's leading authorities in strategic innovation in his unique leadership and knowledge around the globe. And on the 21st was the business meeting, and our new president is Lorraine Stewart from Parkland.
Thank you. Trustee O'Shea?
Just Trustee O'Shea, Ward 4, just for Trustee Briggs and Board Chair Brochu. The Alberta School Boards Association and the Public School Board Association are one of the channels that we have to advocate towards our government. And I know one of the priorities of this board is to advocate for public education and appropriate funding for that. And at some point in time, once these boards are settled and they have some advocacy plans in place, I would certainly welcome to see what their advocacy plans are and how we can continue to advocate to our government through those channels.
Thank you. Very good point. Wonderful PD. I will second that. It was very easy to listen to, but the analogy with the Blue Jays was what kept us all paying attention. Thank you, Trustee Reid.
Yeah, just to add to that, Trustee Reid, Ward 6, Tom Thompson, I thought he did an amazing day. It kept us engaged, and he had 4 items that we worked on throughout the day, and I thought it kept, the afternoon was getting long, I felt it a little bit, but he kept it going, and what a wonderful day of learning, and starting to learn the channels of how we're going to advocate. And I think that was the common theme in that room when you talk to other people around the table.
Yes, it was indeed great. Trustee Briggs?
And one of the questions that came up from one of the trustees from another board is, how do you plan on working with the government, or are you going to work for the government? And so I guess that's our advocacy piece, to see how we figure out where our place is and how to advocate the best for funding for our division.
Thank you. Yes, and working with is sometimes a bit of a challenge, but working for is even worse. So moving forward in that, thank you so much. Next on the agenda is the Rotary report. Trustee Reid.
Trustee Reed, Ward 6. So something that I want to bring forward to the board, and I've sent it out in a few emails, but Rotary has stepped back and looked at our funding that we do around our community. We have funded a lot of the same people, the same organizations over and over and over again. So this year, we have taken a step back, and all the committee members and board chairs have re-looked at where our funding is going. So one of the funds that is going to get reallocated is coming from our community board, and they're asking if Sturgeon Public Schools has any appetite for a funding model for unfortunate kids that don't have enough to eat. So I'd like to bring that forward to this board as I think we have to do a needs assessment somehow throughout the school division, throughout all the schools, and somehow figure out how many kids we have that maybe come to school without proper nutrition. And then we can take that back to Rotary, and they are proposing $1,000 to start. And I think what we need to be very diligent about is to get on this quickly and try to get a program in place and pilot it first. And then we can look forward to an ongoing process throughout coming years. But this is something that Rotary is passionate about. The other thing with Rotary is the Interact students at Sturgeon Comp. They're tossing some ideas around, apparently around Christmas and what they got some projects they want to get done. So I'll come back with more on that. They are attending the Morinville Rotary has a float that we put in every year for the Morinville Light Up the Nights, which is coming up this Saturday, the 29th. So the Interact kids will be walking alongside the float and handing out candy and celebrating that evening with us, as well as about 4 other groups as well. So that's what I'll have for Rotary.
Thank you for that. So Superintendent, that can just go forward to administration for consideration of how that could be operationalized?
I would love it, again, if the board would make a motion here, because there is a lot. There's been a lot. So what we bring forward to you is information. So just to remind the board, yes, to bring forward information, but what is being asked. So because this is a wonderful opportunity, but I want to make sure the board has the whole picture before we're filling that out, only because there's a federal nutrition grant that everybody's been asking about for the last year and a bit. We've never ever seen those dollars. We actually did, the previous board did ask, like we went to all of our schools because people asked. We've had changes in governments. We had 3 schools that actually had a very targeted grant for nutrition. So it was Bon Accord and Oak Park that qualified, like they had to qualify for that breakfast program. And then the year after, Morinville Public actually qualified for the supplemental lunch program that was under a different government. It was a lot of reporting, very targeted. And then we heard there was this federal nutrition grant. So the previous board did ask that question. We brought forward information. So if there was a motion to know that I could bring that back, because again, this is the first time. I know I just read the email that was forwarded. We would love to, because any way we can help to feed our children, we would love that. But we have done some work and we are kind of in flux. So whatever the ask is, whatever the board would like to be brought forward for that consideration, absolutely. And because there is some history there, so the board knows, and also to know that we haven't had the actual dedicated dollars. So from that federal one, so the gaps missing because you'll want to have a criteria, right, of the Rotary. Like I don't know any of it, so absolutely we can for sure bring that forward, the history on that.
Thank you. Trustee Buga and then Trustee Reed.
Thank you, Chair. When I heard about that idea, I think that's great to fill in the gaps. I did a little bit more looking into that federal nutrition grant and how Alberta is using it, because in the news lately, some of the other provinces are using it and it's making the news, but Alberta's is not so much. So there is an application process now for up to 500,000 per division, or they've used some convoluted numbers saying that their pilot program didn't work and now they're doing it another way. So I would just ask that be included in this request for information, that we look at what that grant looks like and how we can make sure all the puzzle pieces fit together without overlapping or eliminating any of them from us.
Thank you, Trustee Buga. And just to clarify, you're not looking just for a report for information. You're looking to actually operationalize what this donation, I'm assuming of $1,000 to the district, could roll out to for students in the area, correct?
Correct. And all that really Rotary's only looking for is it going to be sustainable. That's one of the things that we look at when we're putting money forward to a project. Is it going to be sustainable for long term? So basically, the ask is for the school division to come up with a plan and make sure that that plan will be sustainable so they can fund an annual fund.
Okay, so would you like to so move that the board directs administration to operationalize a plan for a donation of $1,000 from the Rotary Club?
Sure can. So I would like to put a motion on the table to direct this board and administration to do a plan or assessment forward so that Rotary Club of Morinville Sturgeon can initiate $1,000 annually for a nutrition program.
Thank you. Conversation, questions, comments around the motion. Thank you, Trustee Reed. Trustee Buga, your light is on.
Oh, sorry.
It's okay. I thought you might have had a comment. All right. No comments, no questions. Let's move forward with a vote to support the motion to direct administration to operationalize a plan and do a needs assessment to look after a $1,000 grant on an annual basis from the Rotary Club. Is there anyone who's opposed? All in favor? Thank you. Unanimous. A very kind way to move forward as a new trustee. Thank you. And the next one is our Chamber of Commerce meetings. Do we have any reports? I don't believe we do. Okay, moving on to Community Services Advisory Board. And again, I don't know if there is something coming forward.
Trustee Briggs, Ward 2. The meeting was on November 17th. We were all at Alberta School Boards Association. Next meeting coming forward would be February 9th, 2026.
Thank you. And 10.6 would be Rural Caucus. Trustee Buga, do you have something to share with us this afternoon?
Thank you, Chair. Sorry, I was not prepared for this one, but I did attend Rural Caucus prior to the Alberta School Board Association meeting on November 16th. They have re-elected their chair and directors, and looks like status quo, which I believe is promising as far as Rural Caucus goes. I think they have made some headway in the last couple of years, and I feel like they can be an effective group with some sustained leadership there. So I look forward to moving forward with that. Superintendent also attended the event with me. There was some PD available, which I found that trustees just ended up chatting amongst themselves about their rural issues, as often happens at Rural Caucus. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Finishing off with committees and task groups, we will move to item 11, which is unfinished business. Thinking we do not have anything in that bullet point, and we will move into comment and question period, which is number 12 on our agenda. So as we move into this section, the comment and question period, I'd like to take just a moment to outline the process that guides this portion of our meeting. The purpose of this section is to ensure that all members of the public still have a clear and consistent avenue to engage with the board as per Board Policy 7. This section is intended to provide clarifying information related to the agenda items. It's not a political forum, nor is it a venue for addressing personal matters or issues that must be dealt with through established administrative or electoral channels. Questions about individual trustees, staff members, or students will not be recognized. Additionally, the Education Act, Section 256, indicates how all participants must conduct themselves at school board meetings. In addition, subsection B states that persons engaging with the board, either by attending the meeting in person or through written submissions, must not disturb or interrupt the proceedings and must act respectfully towards all. These processes are in place to ensure fairness, clarity, and respectful participation while supporting the orderly operation of a public meeting. We truly value the engagement of our community and appreciate all who take the time to participate in our democratic process. We will now proceed with the comment and question period in accordance with Board Policy 7. So we have a number of questions that were asked in advance, and we will try to answer them the best we can. So I will begin with question number 1. And this came to us from the online Google form that was submitted before 4 o'clock yesterday. So question 1 is, what is the anticipated timeline for the construction and when will students transition to the new building? Also, will the new school help address concerns at Four Winds? So I'll turn this over to Superintendent, but I believe we're talking to the new Morinville Public School, correct?
Thank you, Chair Shauna Warren, Superintendent. And so to that stakeholder and to all stakeholders, the presentation from last night is now linked on the public board. There is now, the survey is open until the 2nd, and it will talk about that. It'll talk about moving the 2 grades back, about Four Winds, because yes, that will help alleviate overcrowding at Four Winds Public School. And the timeline for this construction is on there if everything goes as planned. So all the information is there, and we really encourage parents of that is we will have a landing page on the website. Please check that regularly because there will also be an FAQ that is on there to keep everybody updated.
Thank you, Superintendent. We have 3 questions in total. The second one is, we hear a lot about advocacy from other school boards. Can trustees explain how they are working together provincially to improve funding for public schools and whether Sturgeon is part of that effort? And could you also share how this advocacy might help to protect classroom staffing and prevent further cuts? The answer from the table of trustees is, that's a great question. Trustees are partnering with our political associations, the Alberta School Boards Association and the Public School Boards Association of Alberta, for adequate and sustainable funding to be directed to public schools. Trustees hold a strong belief in putting children or students first. After hearing Premier's mandate, the board will determine priorities and we will pivot in this new educational landscape. We also understand that advocacy is one of the core responsibilities of a school board. And you're absolutely right that schools are struggling. Families expect to see their trustees speaking up. Hearing your concerns, we recognize that past advocacy hasn't always been as visible or communicated as strongly as needed to be. Moving forward, as a new board, we are committed to doing better. We want families to feel confident that their concerns are being taken forward and that our board is actively standing up for the needs of students and schools. Advocacy needs to be intentional, ongoing, and transparent. Our current board will make sure we are monitoring our progress and effectively reporting back to the community to keep them informed. And there might have been more on that one, but I think that answers the question. Thank you for those. And the third and last question. I am a parent, and honestly, the last board pretty much did no real advocacy at all when our schools were clearly struggling, and even when the audited financial stuff in this package shows how tight things are getting. So like, if advocacy is supposed to be one of the main jobs of trustees, then this board is actually going to do it, or are we going to get the same lack of action again? Is there a plan moving forward? My understanding of the advocacy work done by the previous board focused on rural transportation issues, cross-ministerial support for education, mental health initiatives, and the funding model. This was done through letter writing, meetings with the Minister of Education, MLAs, our MPs, all of our municipalities, and our sister school boards, by supporting the efforts of our provincial associations. That being said, there's always room for improvement. Our board will develop a plan for advocacy, including our focus, key messages, relationships, and mechanisms for moving forward. We hope to continue this work and the current priorities of our communities. These questions demonstrate that we need to get better at sharing the work we do, and we look forward to improving to build a stronger trust with stakeholders. And that's the end of our questions. And that brings us to, I have to find my agenda now. Okay. That brings us to the motion to move to in-camera adjournment. Trustee Briggs,
I motion at 2:26 to move into camera.
all in favor? Thank you. And before we do go in camera, I would like to thank all of our public for coming. We do appreciate having some faces in the room, and I'm not sure when we will be out to adjourn, but we do want to thank you for being a part of our meeting today. Thank you.